This is Yesler Terrace, Seattle's oldest subsidized housing community. Yesler is home to a wide variety of cultures and backgrounds. Yesler has many buildings, and there's a community center where everyone is welcomed. Yesler is culturally diverse, but what does cultural diversity mean? Cultural diversity occurs when multiple cultures live in one area. There's events and programs that show diversity. Diversity in culture is important because learning about others' cultures helps us understand different perspectives within the world which we live in. What does cultural diversity mean? Cultural diversity is about appreciating that society is made up of many different groups with different interests, skills, talents, and needs.
What is your definition of culture in Yesler?
The culture of Yesler, like as I defined it, in early Yesler, it felt like family, like neighbors supporting each other, coming together, exchange of food, dialogue, being in space together, being in each other's like backyards or apartments. Like when I first moved to the neighborhood, I made it like an intentional effort to make sure I walked pretty much everywhere and took meetings with people in their homes, on their couches. So that's what I remember about the old Yesler.
I guess I would say, you know, people's traditions, like different groups of people's traditions and, you know, their ethnicities, the places that they come from can make a culture, and the way that they celebrate in the neighborhood.
So for me, we are all the one human race, but we are all from different cultures. So you may have, like, I can't say everyone is East African because I don't know where everyone is from in Africa, but it's a great thing to hear the dialects from each culture.
How has Yesler's cultural diversity impacted the community?
I think the cultural diversity is good, that we have a lot of different cultures exchanging ideas, sharing place together. I think it becomes difficult when we have, you know, different homeowners or market rate renters coming into contact with folks in our SHA neighbors. Sometimes, you know, there's a different expectation of how space should be used, public parks should be used, how kids should be behaving and interacting. So I think it's created some challenges, but Yesler was always designed to be like a cultural melting pot, a diverse space where, you know, different folks from all different backgrounds could come together. It's actually the first publicly integrated housing project in the country.
I think it makes the community a lot brighter since there's so many cultures. Also for me, as a person who isn't necessarily a part of some of the bigger cultures in Yesler Terrace, it allows me to be more educated on what's going on in the rest of the world.
Yes Fest is a celebration welcome to all cultures to represent diversity. It is welcome to people that don't live in Yesler and live in Yesler. In Yes Fest, they had cultural dances and cultural foods such as injera, fish and chicken, rice and bananas and tamales, and Ethiopian coffee. There was a variety of music, people dancing like Asians, Ethiopians, Somalis, and Eritreans. Yesler also had giveaways, a laptop for adults. There was also stations to give them opportunities to promote their culture. There was boba that originated from Taiwan. There was also hinna, which originated in the Middle Eastern North Africa. Injera originated from Ethiopia and Eritrea.
How have you noticed Yesler's culture change through redevelopment?
I think the culture has shifted a bit because of the way the housing is. Now we're in high-rise buildings, it kind of changes how people interact with each other. Like I said before redevelopment, a lot of folks had their own backyards and there was space for us to convene. Young people could run throughout the neighborhood, have a little more space to just be themselves. Now, you know, there's a lack of space, welcoming space for young people to kind of just play and be themselves, and we're having a lot of clashes between neighbors, and I think it's over cultural differences a lot of times between their expectations of how people should use a space and how, you know, we like to use a space and have historically used a space.
I think I wasn't here for the redevelopment, but from what I've heard from other people who have lived in the old Yesler and either have moved away or have come back again, is that the backyards that the old Yesler used to have was really beneficial to certain people's cultures and how they celebrate them, with how they meet up and how they talk and how they communicate. And now it's harder for people to do that when they live in apartments instead of their own individual houses where they can walk around outside and see each other.
How was the culture in where you used to live different from the culture in Yesler?
So most of where we live is predominantly white, black. We see Latino. We don't barely see any Asian cultures, barely. There is, unless you see them, we're in a fight with something. So being around a diverse culture, it's not even close. Even on the census, there was only 4 categories: black, white, Asian, and other. That was normal.
Do you think there's enough cultural art or music in Yesler? And if not, should we add any?
I think if you look around Yesler, there's a lot of intentional art pieces that were designed with community impact or community input, rather, to make sure that all the cultures show up in the art. I love seeing the art in Yesler. I would love to hear more music. I don't hear a lot of music outside of, what we did intentionally at Yes Fest. So Yes Fest is like our annual fair where we come together as a community and celebrate our cultural differences, share vital resources with families. And it kind of came out of COVID. I noticed that a lot of people were showing apathy towards young people, complaining about young people getting in trouble. So I wanted to create like a space where we come together as community. Young people could really take the lead, have joyous space to share their culture, have joyous space to just be themselves and be supported and build relationships with the service providers in the neighborhood.
There are some art pieces around that I don't think necessarily, I think are very beautiful, but I don't think necessarily relate to anyone's specific culture. So it would be nice to see more cultural artworks around. And as for music, I think I do hear a lot of music, especially when we have when people have parties or when we have things like Yes Fest. I think you can hear the music playing throughout the whole neighborhood. So that's pretty nice.